I'm sure being a personal trainer, you get a lot of clients coming in. And what I want to know is when a client walks in and starts training with you, what's the easiest way to explain calories to them?
So calories are the energy found in food. So anything that you eat or drink, obviously outside of water, contains a level of energy. So your body's energy balance is based on the amount of calories that your body burns in a day, and the calorie consumption is obviously how much you eat or drink in a day. And it's basically a unit or metric of energy found in anything and everything that you consume. Calories are broken up into proteins, carbs, and fats. I won't include alcohol just for the sake of simplicity. So, proteins and carbs have 4 calories per gram. So, like getting too technical, if you eat 100 grams of protein, that's 400 calories. But 100 grams of chicken is not 100 grams of protein. That's why using calculators like MyFitnessPal and Fat Secret and stuff like that is such a benefit, because you can literally just type in the food. You can put your food on a scale, weigh out how much chicken you've eaten, put that into the calculator, and it'll list that for you. So what I would try and do is, especially on fat loss journeys, I would try and explain to clients that you want to try and, number one, hit your protein target. So that's your focal point, is hitting your proteins, keeping your carbohydrates relatively low and keeping those around your training days, or your around your training times rather, and the balance of the calories is filled up with fats. So generally, I'll make a meal plan for clients, and I'll give them substitution options. And if they don't like chicken, they can have beef at a different quantity. But for the most part, I always try and emphasize nutrient dense and whole foods to try and make up your calories. Yeah.
Okay. And liquids, right? So there's a lot of talk about how Coke Zero is not great. I've seen you've done a video about it before. But is it still a safer alternative? Do we count those calories, or how
So
does
I'm a
that work?
lifestyle coach. I don't. I hardly do bodybuilding prep. And if you are like the top 2% in the world, you have like my colleague Sibu is a, you know him quite well. He's a
Yeah.
super very advanced level bodybuilder. So for someone like him, maybe these small nuances would make a difference. But to be honest, for 99% of the population looking to drop body fat, a Coke Zero or three during the day is going to have no impact on your fat loss. So you could argue that the sweeteners and the carbon in the drink, or the fizz in the drink, could affect your digestion. But from a calorie point of view, I hit 3 or 4 Coke Zeros a day. So even in my cutting phases, I drink 7 Up free all day. I have no issue with it. And if it helps you get hydration in and increases your fluid intake, by all means, go for it.
I want to know, how important is it to eat 3 to 4 meals a day?
So theoretically, the nutrient timing and the meal frequency is not always a huge determining factor, but rather the amount of daily calories that you eat. So whether you say you're aiming to eat 2,000 calories a day, what as a round number, if you have 2 meals of 1,000 calories, but you can hit your proteins, your carbs, and your fats perfectly, and you can digest the food nicely, or if you have 10 meals of 200 calories, it wouldn't play a massive role at all in your composition or body weight at the end of 2 or 3 months, because it's more about the daily intake and the weekly calorie intake that you're having. So intermittent fasting, um, there's a number of dieting practices, even keto, banting, it all does the same thing, which is to try and put you in a deficit, which is obviously eating less calories than you burn. So if you're having, and it's individual specific, if you feel optimal eating 3 meals a day, that's perfect for you, as long as your calorie intake for the day lines up with what your goal is.
And coach, tell me, why can some people get away with eating so much and not gain weight? Like, I have a cousin, he can eat whatever he wants and he'll still have an 8 pack. Like, I don't get
Yeah.
it.
So you get different body types. You get ectomorphs, which is guys that are generally quite skinny and they battle to put on weight. You get mesomorphs, which is a client that's, or person that carries a little bit of body fat, they might be a little bit thicker, and they maybe put on body fat easily and battle to lose it. And then you get endomorphs, which is guys that have always been a bit chubby and they've really battled to lose weight. So those sort of three physique types often, classify how easy it is to lose or gain weight, and that's mainly just determined on maybe genetic factors, metabolic speed. It doesn't mean you can't change it, but for a lot of people, like for myself, to gain weight is quite difficult. I'm an ectomorph. I finished matric at like 70 kilos. I was not a big guy at all.
What?
So yeah, so for some people it's harder than others. But it's there's a host of genetic factors that play a role. But you just need to kind of work out where you lie on the spectrum. And if you are an endomorph or a mesomorph and you really struggle to lose weight, it just means that you have to pull yourself slightly harder from a calorie point of view. So you might have to diet harder than someone else, but the biological principles are all the same. If you in a certain deficit, no matter who you are, you would still lose that amount of weight because, if someone that battles to lose body fat and someone that finds it very easy are both in a 500 calorie deficit, that weight reduction would be the same.
I see. And does it make a difference working out on an empty stomach as opposed to a full stomach when it comes to burning calories?
From a calorie point of view, no. So if you perform the exact same workout first thing in the morning fasted, or if you do the exact same workout after lunch, the amount of calories that you burn in that session will be the same. But it does make a difference in terms of your energy output and the intensity and the weight that you can move in that session. So for me, I don't like training fasted. I've never been able to train well first thing in the morning. So I train best at like mid-morning, 10, 11, 9, 10, 11, somewhere there. By the afternoon, I'm mentally fatigued and I battle to push weight. So for me, that works perfectly. But again, like a lot of my 5 a.m. clients, my 5:45 clients, they're used to training early in the morning. They love it and they can get in great sessions. So it doesn't really make a difference at all. It's more based on what can you sustainably do over time and how can you hit your best workouts.
Okay. And coach, tell me, if I'm eating pop and meat and anything that's cooked in the house, right? And my calories for the day are 1,500, or let's say 2,000.
Okay.
And you've got someone who's eating healthy at 2,000, right? And we're both on a 500 deficit. Let's put it that way. We're both going to lose weight, but is he at an advantage eating healthier, or are we still going to reach the same goal if we still go into the gym and doing the same thing?
So calories dictate your body weight. So if you say you're both in a 500 calorie deficit and all you're eating is white bread and he's having veggies and steak, if your calories are the same, your body weight would more than likely be exactly the same over time. If you cloned and replicated yourself, the same metabolism, the same everything, and one version of you had really high quality food and the other version of you was just having cake but the same calories, your body weight would change in the same rate, but your composition would be different. So the other person's muscle mass would be higher, their body fat would be lower, and they would obviously look and feel healthier by being on higher quality food. Whereas a person that just eats cake and bread, their calories would be in the same deficit. So from a weight point of view on the scale, it would maybe change the same, but their composition would be different. They wouldn't hold as much muscle mass. They wouldn't be as strong. Their bone mass would be lower. So composition-wise, definitely not, but weight-wise, more than likely, yes, it would be the same.
I really try my best in the week to eat healthy, but come Friday, I feel like I can get away with one or two things. If I still remain under my calories, I'll still be fine, I assume.
Correct.
If I go a bit higher, am I canceling everything that I did in the week? Not talking alcohol, I'm just talking bad eating habits, saturated fats, and the likes.
So what I would do, I would try and work out, to not get too technical, 3,500 calories is 1 pound of body fat. So if your maintenance calories is 2,000 and you eating 1.5, that gives you a 500 calorie deficit every day. So if you eat that 7 days a week, that'll put you in a 3,500 calorie deficit, and that will that'll make you lose 1 pound of body fat, so half a kilogram of body fat. If you have, let's say you're eating 1.5, on Friday night, your calories go to 2,500, so you're 1,000 up. But then Saturday, Sunday, you drop those back down, and your weekly totals is still 3,500. That would play no effect at all because your weekly total is still at 3,500 calories. But if you had 1,500 calories consistently, and then you had 8,000 calories on Friday, and then back down to 1.5, that would bring the average of your week quite high, and it would probably put you in a surplus. So I would also just try and work on weekly calories. And if you are going to have a cheat meal, account for that earlier in the day. So like for myself, if I know that I'm going out on Saturday to go watch the rugby, I'll wake up and have a small breakfast, maybe 3 scrambled eggs on toast, and then I'll have a small shake for lunch. So my calories may be like 800 for the day max, and then I can still go out and have a pizza for dinner because it only puts me at like maybe 2,500 for the day, as opposed to having a big lunch and coffee and cake and a big dinner. So I would just try to like make provisions for that earlier in my day to then enjoy that later on.
I see. Makes sense. And then, coach, I have a lot of friends, right, that want to lose weight, but as soon as you mention a scale, start mentioning calories, you lose them. What advice would you give to someone who's trying to lose weight but not trying to count calories or use a kitchen scale? Like, is it like, are you fighting a losing battle?
Look, I have this discussion a lot because I've got a very big online client base, and a lot of guys don't want to weigh their food. They're like, "Oh, it's a mission, it's difficult." But my argument is that you've paid a lot of money to have a good coach. He's worked out your calories perfectly. You're putting in the effort. You're mentally in the right place. You're training hard. You're doing your cardio. You're doing 9 of the 10 things to get you to your goal. That 10th thing that you think is a massive deal, all it takes is instead of putting your plate on the kitchen counter, you put it on a food scale and then dishing up. It doesn't even take 1 second more of your time. So if it says 150 grams of chicken and 100 grams of jasmine rice, weighing it out shouldn't be any more difficult. You have to scoop it up anyway, so you might as well put in that 1% extra effort that can genuinely give you a 50% better result, because people can eyeball food and say, okay, this is 100 grams of mince, but it's actually 170. Visually, it doesn't seem like a massive discrepancy, but you've actually eaten 70% more in that meal. Now, if you do that for 3 or 4 meals, you could be eating the right foods. You're having egg whites for breakfast, you're having chicken wraps for lunch, and my clients eat really enjoyable food, and they're having homemade burgers for dinner. But if you're having 2 buns instead of one, and you're having 200 grams of mince instead of 120, and this adds up over a week, it ruins your whole week. So from my point of view, like, people just need to stop trying to make it this big mountain of a task that's impossible to achieve, and just actually put their mind to it, because it really isn't that much of an issue to weigh your food.
Okay. And is there a golden ratio, like on a daily? What should I strive for my carbs to be? And what should I strive for my protein to be as opposed to the fat? Like, is there a golden ratio?
So I would start off first by working out what your body burns. So I would go online and I would go type in TDEE calculator, so total daily energy expenditure calculator. You put in a whole bunch of information about yourself, and that'll spit out a number of pretty accurately what your calorie maintenance number is. So say it says you have to eat 2,000 calories to maintain your body weight, but you obviously want to lose fat, so you'll start eating 1,500. Then I'll take that number, and you want to try and get 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. So let's say I weigh 100 kilograms, which is 225 pounds. I need to get in 225 grams of protein. So I'd allocate that amount of protein. I'd see how many calories that is. And then I would split the balance of the calories between my carbs and my fats.
Coach, so tell me, what are the biggest mistakes that you come across when people are trying to count calories? That's part one. Part two, if I'm on a 500 deficit and I'm on 2,000 calories, when should I look into recalculating those calories to make sure that I'm always in a deficit when I'm trying to lose weight?
So when it comes to the biggest mistakes that I see, is number one, people often snack a lot and don't input that. Like they'll input their main food, but then they'll snack on some biltong and they'll have, a muffin here and there, and they won't add that up. And they wonder why they're not losing weight, but they're actually not really, accurately calculating any of their food. So that's the biggest one, is having empty calories that people don't always think about. Um, and then also trying to like overcomplicate things by doing it themselves. The reason we have things like MyFitnessPal and Fat Secret is that it eliminates the need for you to try and do this all on your own. So all you have to do is input the food that you're eating, and the calculators the apps themselves will spit out your calories and all of that. So don't try and think about and use a calculator for everything in your head. Just use an app that does it for you. That's the biggest one. And then in terms of recalculating, there's two big schools of thought that come to fat loss. The first one is like long-term sustainable fat loss, which to a large degree I agree with. We want to lose fat sustainably. But at the same time, personally, I would rather go into a very hard deficit for 6 weeks and lose as much as I can in those 6 weeks than try and go into like, a slight deficit for 12 to 16 weeks. I don't want to be dieting for 4 or 5 months if I don't need to. If I can get the same results in a very aggressive, hard 5 weeks, that's what I do. I pull clients hard from the beginning. Their calories are high enough that it causes no metabolic damage, but at the same time, they can do minimal cardio and still get great results. So I would only reassess those calories if you having poor sleep, your energy in the gym is terrible, you can't concentrate properly, you're really battling with cravings. If you're really feeling terrible on the food that you're eating, then maybe look to reconsider it. But for the most part, I'd rather have a very aggressive 4 weeks or 5 weeks. I know that, for this phase, I'm going to try and drop 5 or 6 kilos in 5 weeks and then go into like 3 or 4 weeks of maintenance where you can give yourself some more leeway, work in a couple cheat meals a week, and then go back into another hard 4 or 5 weeks. That's normally how I pull my clients. It's not always the most common because most people want to do like a very slow deficit for 5 months. I just don't think that that's a very enjoyable way of living life. So that's my sort of thesis behind it.
Okay. Last two
Yeah.
questions, coach.
Mm.
Like, you and your partner are probably the fittest couple I know. How do you maintain eating healthy as a partner while having a partner and living together? Because, like, do you guys buy separate groceries, or do you cook the same thing and just measure your portions accordingly?
So personally, I mean, I train in the gym 4 to 5 days a week. My fiance trains about twice a week, but she does pole dancing. So from a calorie output point of view, the exercises that we choose are quite different, but they both have their merits in terms of the amount of calories they burn. But from an eating point of view, like she's busy cooking dinner for us right now, and we eat very similarly in the evenings. Like she'll make, very nice chicken and avo wraps, chicken schnitzels and veg. So we have very similar foods, but I normally just eat like double the portion that she does. So whatever I weigh out for myself, she'll normally eat half. And then because I've been doing this for so long, I eat very instinctively. Like I know how many calories I eat in a day because I've done it before. So I don't always measure it out now. Just because I've done it for so long, I know what my body feels like. And if I do start, like obviously my honeymoon starts on Sunday, so I've been, dieting quite hard for that. But I know what I eat in a day, and it's all very consistent. And if I do want to drop body fat, I just pull carbs from all of those meals. And I know that whatever I have been eating, if I just drop the carbs, from 2 or 3 of the meals, that's going to pull my calories down 600 or 700 calories immediately. So without having to measure everything, I can sort of know what my body's feeling like and instinctively sort of take it from there.
Okay. And last question. What's a dangerous deficit and what's a dangerous surplus? So if I'm on 2000 calories and I'm trying to build muscle, like, going too extreme is obviously not good. Trying to lose weight, going too extreme is probably not good. 500 seems to be what everyone says, but what do you say?
So, I mean, it depends on the amount of fat that you have to lose as well. If you only want to lose, 3 or 4 kilos, you don't need to go super aggressive. You can take it quite easy because you'll lose that in 6 or 7 weeks anyway. So if you work out, if you're doing around number 500 calorie deficit per day, that's 0.5 kilogram per week. So over 4 weeks, that's 2 kilograms. So if you prep it like that, you can get away with a 500 calorie deficit and you'll lose 4 kilos in 2 months anyway. As a round number, I would say females, I wouldn't really go under maybe 1.3 a day, and men, I wouldn't really go below 1.6. There's a lot of ways to manipulate calories, but yeah, I wouldn't really push more than 1,000 or 1,100 in a deficit.
And in a surplus?
A surplus, the danger is not nearly as bad. I mean, the dangers of your calories being too low in a woman is that females will lose their periods. It affects their fertility. Men, it affects their libido. Their sex drive is shit. Their test levels drop if your calories are super low. So the dangers of going too low are quite extensive, whereas the dangers of going too high are not as bad. You're just going to put on a lot of body fat unnecessarily, because there's only a threshold of how much muscle you can actually gain. So I would almost argue that being in a bulk, you want to try and keep your calories as small above maintenance as possible and get the most results. Because if you're eating 10,000 calories a day, that doesn't mean you're going to put on that amount of muscle, because
True.
your body can only build a certain amount of tissue. So eating more calories is just going to make you fat, which I wouldn't really recommend.
Coach,
Yeah.
a lot of the time I hear people saying, all I need is 3 months in the gym and then I'll have my body back. I mean, what's realistic? You've got a client that you said needs to lose about 100 kgs. Some people need to lose 50, 30. What's a realistic timeline to give yourself to start seeing progress? Because a lot of people will not see progress and that's what puts them off, So what's realistic?
You can't expect to undo 3 decades of neglect to your physique in 2 months. It doesn't work like that. So it does depend for how long it's gone on for. I've had clients that have come to like ex-pro athletes and they've lost their physique in a year. They've put on 20 kilos. For someone like him, he's been in shape for his whole life. And this 1 or 2 years, they've gone through a divorce, they've gone through financial difficulties, and they've just ruined their physique. For him, it'll be far quicker to get back to homeostasis than for someone who's been 30 kilos overweight for 20 years. So it just depends on the person. But I would say within the first 6 to 10 weeks, you should start seeing really good results if you have a good plan and a good coach. But if not, I would reassess. But in terms of getting to your goal weight, that just depends on the person, how much weight they have to lose.
Whether you're using Ozempic, whether you go into the gym, it just boils down to your daily calories. Is correct?
Eat less and move more. And if you're not losing weight, then eat less and move more. It's a very old saying, and everyone's like, oh, it's not that simple. It really is. If you look at concentration camps during the war, nobody left there obese with their body in starvation mode and holding on to fat for the things I've heard is insane over the years. But if you are in a deficit, your body will burn X amount of calories. If you're eating less than X, you will lose weight. So anyone that says I'm in a deficit but I'm not losing weight, they're not in a deficit. Yeah.
But coach, I'm struggling with the lower fat on my stomach. Like, what am I doing wrong?
So men put on body fat around their midsection and women put on body fat around their hips. So it's often the last place for fat to go.
Okay.
But if anyone is battling with that last little bit of fat loss, I would just go flipping scorched earth. I would go super low calories for a couple of weeks. And I would force my body into a direction that I wanted to move. Like for now, if I'm not dropping as much body fat as I want, I don't care if my calories have to go to flipping 1,000. For a very short period of time, I'll do whatever is necessary to push myself there, but it shouldn't really be necessary. You should be dropping enough. But if you do have to go a couple days or a week or two on a higher restriction, then go for it. If you're battling and you're not getting it through it, I would just go scorched earth and just drop those calories.
Coach, thank you so much for your time. That is so informative. I hope everyone watching this actually picks something up worthwhile and actually takes the time to calculate the food. Like you're saying, we have apps and everything that makes it so much easier. So
100%.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure, brother. Thanks for having me on. I'll see you soon.
Cheers. Thanks so much, Coach.